Much peace. Talk a Trichome Tuesday. Come on through. Hope everybody's good. Keep them with the high grade. Just listen to some tunes that will wait for people to come through. What is known? Everyone's good. The audio visual is coming through clear. Just an impromptu thing here. Thanks for everyone come through. Brandon, Hookster, Lady Love, Midnight, whoever else comes through. More than welcome to come through. Put the link down in a sec. Didn't really have an idea, but I just thought I'll drop this thing here because I talk about medicinal a lot in Australia. I come across this website here, Gizmodo. Here's how hard it is to obtain medicinal cannabis in each Australian state or territory. So you could go have a look yourself, I guess. I'll probably drop the link in the chat instead of me reading this. But it's pretty interesting. I'll just give you a second here. Everything's a little bit slow. Put that there. Just wait for that. Alright, so let's read this for a little bit. It's been 5 years since Australia made federally legalized medicinal cannabis, and 420 days seems like a good time to take a look under the hood of our cannabis industry, how far we've come and how incredibly far we still have to go. Recreational use of marijuana is still outlawed in most states and territories across the country, with the exception of the ACT. But even in Canberra, those aren't as simple as you think. This means you can't simply just buy a joint at QuestCon before you turn on the giant slide. Trust me, the irony of Australia's cannabis laws being more corked than anyone living in our stoner-filled nation is not lost on me. So, in honor of the fact that it's 420 and I intend on thinking about nothing but weed all day, let's take a look at the laws around medicinal and recreational cannabis right here in Australia. So, we got cannabis in the ACT. Uh, we've got from 2020 is dry cannabis and 2 cannabis plants per person. They have 4 per household. Sounds great, eh? Well, alternatively, it's still buy, sell, gift, or smoke with. So not only does this mean hunger product, but right legal access cannabis. Super convoluted and confusing, but that were introduced criminal measure rather than legislation. People with a small amount of cannabis are currently subjected to the legal system. Small amount of cannabis has a overwhelming impact on their lives. The ACT Attorney General told his part of Australia the justice to more serious crimes. Changes will act as a form of harm minimization and that involved with the criminal justice system necessarily. Basically, the law means that if you get weed, you're not going to clog up the already strained justice system, and you're not going to ruin charges. Okay, so I relate to that because in a sense, not from Well, yeah, terribly sorry about that. Fucking, what a waste. I don't know where it went, Egypt out, but, fucking bullshit. It's the internet here. It's fucking shit. Fuck, dead, eh? Anyway, cheers for the fucking give us a ring. I didn't read the chat, I was reading this shit. It's just so annoying, bro. We got 5G here. We got fucking, like, the most up to date internet we could possibly get. But yeah, what happens? It just buffers every 10 minutes. It wants to bloody decide where its connection is. Anyway, maybe if I put the hotspot on, fucking muck around. But then I got to use this. What's the point of having your landline at home? You know, they just want money. They just want money. They don't want to provide the good service. But anyway, I won't complain. So I won't read that all again. I obviously got cut out like halfway through it somewhere. But it's a great site, gizmodo.com. I think I did drop the link in the chat there before, so just hit it up and you'll see. I'll start to where I was at. I just went through all the states and basically the process there. Where we go? I was up to here. Can I get subsidised medical cannabis in Australia? There are the other major issue with Australia's frankly outdated cannabis laws is the price. On account of the fact that it's highly regulated and not registered as medicine in Australia, medicinal cannabis products are extremely expensive and are not covered by the PBS. With so many Australians priced out of the option, it's easy to see why people simply opt for illegal methods of obtaining cannabis to self-treat their ailments. Obviously, self-medicating is a dangerous method of treatment, but it's not hard to see why people are pushed out to this extreme when they simply can't afford to go down the legal route. The driving thing, even if you manage to obtain a medical cannabis permit and can afford to fill your prescription every month, there's also the ever-present issue of driving. For millions of Australians, especially in regional and rural areas, driving is non-negotiable. However, the driving with any trace of THC is a criminal offence nationwide, even if you've been prescribed medical cannabis. There's this inconsistency in Australia where you have been a group of drug driving laws that really reflect what made sense for illicit cannabis or drug use, medicine, specialist. Alright, um, there it is. Even if you manage to obtain a medicinal cannabis permit and can afford to fill your prescriptions every month, there's also the ever-present issue of driving. For millions of Australians, especially in regional and rural areas, driving is not negotiable. However, the driving with any trace of THC is a criminal offence nationwide, even if you've been prescribed medical cannabis. There's this inconsistency in Australia where we have a group of drug driving laws that really reflect what made sense for illicit cannabis or drug use. Addiction medicine specialist at the University of Sydney, Professor Nicholas Linsertz told the ABC. Unfortunately, a THC medicine gets caught up in that drug driving. We have this anachronism in Australia where no other medication that's legally prescribed is subject to the same drug driving issues as medical cannabis. Despite the ongoing debate surrounding the driving impairment for low-dose THC medications, the general advice given to patients is to wait 5 days before driving, or risk a fine or even suspended license if caught driving under the influence. This is fair enough if you're recreationally smoking cannabis, but when it's medication that you're taking daily or even weekly, it's simply ridiculous to suggest staying off the roads for 5 days at a time. It's been half a decade since Australia first legalised medical cannabis use, but with so many Australians opting for illegal alternatives over the safer legal sources, it is pretty apparent that the system is still failing those who need it most. All right, I definitely agree with that. Um, you know, I've only been like on the program for about 2 months now, but I'm trying to research a little bit more. But obviously, price point is leading to a lot of people missing out just for that simple fact that they cannot afford it. Uh, and the info available to them is just not out there, and there's all different sources, very business based, so people with a bias opinion. Oh, don't tell me he's done it again. Oh no, hang on, I just got a call. But, um, I don't know. Anyway, for me, it's all good. This is very strange. Hope this is probably the weirdest bloody stream I've got. I don't know why it's going in and out, but I'll drop the link down. People can come up. Huh? It's been more than 5 minutes since I won't drive. 5 days there, it's a bit incredible. Um, yeah, so check that site out. Like, I don't know what did come through and where it got blacked out, but it's pretty dope. I'll drop it here so you can check it out. Gizmodo just really talks about all of that stuff. So where else can I go? I'll go into here. I think that's it, according to these guys. Go back. Um, Something's up with like system. There's so much traffic going around, and like it's really slow. I go to stream mode. I go to share. Read. Yeah, so much peace, everybody. Thank you for coming through. Oh, we got UK in the house, man. We got Ricky from the UK chilling it here. That's what I like to see. We got US, UK, Australia. I'd love to get everywhere else. Asia, South America, Pacific Islands, all over the place, to really unite the culture and hear people's experiences and everything they do. Just really express their thing. Let's go through another one here. If there's anything you want to look up, just let us know, type it in the chat, I'll pop it up. So let's go. Australian Cannabis Law 2021 Guide from Leaf Nation. Obviously, we know that it is legal in Australia. While the legislation will vary from state to state, weed is still illegal for recreational in Australia. While medical use will vary state to state, marijuana laws in Australia seem to be constantly in flux in recent years. As a whole, citizens are becoming more supportive of legalizing marijuana as a whole, especially in light of other countries, such as Canada, legalizing the substance nationwide. That's another point, I think. There was a gentleman from Canada. He started up I can't remember the name of the place. It was actually, I'll find it for you. Let's go back. Oh, it was. This was on YouTube. It was at ABC. See how slow this is? Far out. It's quite annoying. ABC. Close, man. Close. It's just look at it. If you can see, it's just going thinking about what it wants to do. I'll probably just chop this off and fucking get onto my hotspot. This is really fucking annoying. Sorry for my language, but it's just pissing me right off. Like, hey, you're supposed, what the fuck are you supposed to do? What the fuck, man? Let's just hope this works. I appreciate everybody hanging around, man. Just fucking really poor reception. Where is it? There's a report this fella did it in. There we go. So it says exactly what I was looking for. This guy's come from Canada to Tasmania and opened up a little dispensary. I'm hoping the reception is coming through okay now. Audio visual is fine. It's speeding up, and obviously this is annoying with the ads. But what can you do? I think I'm going to switch to Patreon too and set it up.
This is what legal cannabis
it's a little
looks
bit
like on an
annoying.
industrial scale. With 40 staff and
So
plans to
look
hire
how
60
slow this
more.
is. I've clicked
This is
it and I have to
big
wait 10
business.
seconds for
This
the
is a
window to
cannabis
enlarge.
plant,
What's
and
going on?
It's one of
This is what legal cannabis looks like on an industrial scale. With 40 staff and plans to hire 60 more, this is big business.
This is a cannabis plant, and it's one of 3,000 in this greenhouse. Overall, we have another 10,000 plants growing outdoors as well, so 13,000 at the moment.
Today is harvest day in a greenhouse designed to grow the best cannabis flowers possible.
So every one of these plants is a clone, and that is how we're controlling the consistency of the output.
For CEO Dan Howard, the pungent smell and the sight of so much cannabis is normal. He's recently moved from Canada, where cannabis is legal.
So from the medical market evolved the adult use market, and that has now proliferated across the country with thousands and thousands of stores and hundreds of producers producing government-controlled, taxed, and high-quality cannabis across the country.
Do you see what happened in Canada also occurring here in Australia?
I believe Australia is on a similar path.
Confidence in the future of the market has companies spending big. Millions of dollars in development means this company is about to upgrade from this greenhouse to this one. To date, most medicinal cannabis consumed in Australia has been imported from overseas. But industry says this is changing as patient access to product is streamlined and new regulation levels the playing field for domestic producers. Josie Hamlet, who manages compliance, says these changes are a good start, but the rules are complex and inconsistent.
There's been a lot of permit and license reforms, which has definitely made our life easier here. Instead of having like 3 licenses and 6 permits, they've all been rolled into one.
Ultimately, this complexity impacts people like Peter Fielding, who was diagnosed with esophagus cancer 2 years ago. He's been using medicinal cannabis and says the drug works wonders.
It doesn't save your life, but it certainly helps to extend it. I was given 4 months. I'm now up to 23 months and about 5 days. Not that I'm counting.
Mr. Fielding says getting it remains difficult and expensive.
Even though it's legal now, try finding somebody who can prescribe it legally. Try finding one. It's still a problem.
A growing industry for a growing need. David Barnett-Clement, ABC News.
That was pretty cool. Interesting to see the guy from Canada. I could see the whole, breakdown in their market, and that's probably filled up the spots now. So he's come over here to take his place here. Pretty cool to see. It's good field to get into, and the size of the growth. This picture here.
To date,
look at that. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 times bigger. And they were doing what, 50,000? Was it 50,000 plants or 13,000 plants? I can't actually remember. I think it's 13,000. 3,000 inside and then 3,000, 10,000 outside. That's just cool. It's definitely getting better, bigger, raise the awareness. You want it to be fair to, as even the old man that was saying, it's available, but try finding, and it's helping him extremely for months to um, live from his doctor diagnosis and then, with the cancer treatment. But how long did he say he's been there? He's not counting, but obviously he is. But it's like, it's amazing. Why isn't this? It really should be more readily available. Just give it time. As I said, even I guess back in the 90s, it was really taboo. People thought, okay, give it time, it will change. And I guess it has come to this. We're in 2020 now, and it's getting there. People are more aware. It's been 5 years since it's been available. But yeah, really dope. I think the link's in this chat if people wanted to come up. No pressure, no worries. It's I'm gonna welcome. I'll pin it up in the thing. But Ricky, bro, if you want to come up, I'd love to hear about UK and how the scene is over there. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to go there twice to London. To take the 45-minute plane trip over to Amsterdam as well. But yeah, to see I was lucky I had a friend over there who was able to connect. It's mostly spliffs, as they say, roll up in the long size, king size papers. Actually didn't see a Billy there, but obviously there are there. And it's getting bigger. The culture must be getting bigger. They're like wax and extracts. Yeah, 13,000. Oh, Gregory, something my brother. A lot of fucking champion. We got heaps of champion growers in there actually, and it's so cool. So, like everybody's just put in their effort and doing what they do. What's that? Finding a calmness, I guess, in life and stability. It's like a fucking brilliant place to be. To just try and detract from the distractions and the chaos, and just like focus on the plant, watch it grow. Take time to just chill out and be with it, and try and resonate in that realm of nature. Fucking, you guys obviously know what I'm talking about. How it feels. I've just started doing it, and I can really just be extremely in the culture. I can't wait for the place to come up. As I said, still I'm in the place for tipping or topping. Sorry, so I wasn't really thinking about it. I don't want it to be extremely tall, but then I guess I want to see the natural element of the natural not technique, but the procedure of how it rolls out. But at the same time, I want it efficient. You put the little daddy to make him come up. Put the little daddy to make him come up. Now watch him go. That probably sounded really strange. I do remember that song though. Yeah, chill it. What should I put up to go back? And I guess in the UK, if everybody's indoor too, that's another element. Your outdoor grows would be quite, I don't think I've seen this yet. Yeah, there'll be in UK, Europe, sun-grown weed is probably very rare, I guess. It's just not efficient enough to do it, so people don't do it.
Ounce of cannabis is now legal in the ACT, but it has to be done naturally. Hydroponic setups can't be used.
The fact that we can't cultivate under lights by law is really, it's quite ridiculous.
Those handcuffs have been released, and as such, now I can put them up in the air as an advocate and say, hey, look at all the positive things about this plant.
Hi, nice to meet you.
This is Mary's medicine.
a spread of handmade cannabis products she says provide life-changing treatment for her chronic depression and arthritis.
So we decided when the laws changed that it was time to take our power back and grow for ourselves and produce our own medicine at a lower cost in a healthier way.
Cannabis is decriminalised in the ACT, but Mary, that's not her real name, is risking a 2-year jail sentence by using artificial lights to grow the drug she relies on. She says it's the only way she can ensure a steady supply because it's just too hard to grow cannabis in Canberra during the cooler months.
Canberra climate is really not conducive to growing cannabis. We didn't realise to begin with how difficult this climate really is. That led us to actually making the decision to growing indoors under lights in a tent, which is against the law. And it's really tough emotionally to know that we're breaking the law to supply our own medicine.
Using a variety of oils, creams and edibles she makes from her harvests, Mary says her depression is in remission and her arthritis is under control.
So that one's used making an extraction. So it's called RSO or Rick Simpson oil. And then I've mixed that into a natural arthritis cream base.
For nearly 2 years, cannabis use, possession and growing has been decriminalised in the ACT under strict limitations. Territory residents can possess up to 50 grams of dried cannabis and grow 2 plants per person, with a maximum of 4 per household. On paper, the laws clash with Commonwealth ones, but they haven't yet been formally tested in a court, and it's still possible ACT police could defer to federal laws at their discretion. And for some ACT residents like Mary, who the new cannabis laws don't protect anyway, the rewards outweigh the risks.
Talking about the laws in the ACT as well, what is your assessment of where the cannabis laws stand right now?
The fact that we can't cultivate under lights by law is really, it's quite ridiculous. I can understand that they're trying to avoid commercial productions being more easily disguised as private use. Yeah, I think the police have enough initiative to say that's a personal use setup or that's a commercial setup. Why are they saying that you can only grow outdoors if it's for personal use? It seems ridiculous.
Could you go back to treating your medical conditions without cannabis, do you think?
To go back to those things, it makes me cringe. The toxicity of using those medicines is just incredible compared to using something that really has such little side effects. If I had to go back to the mainstream medicines, I would not like to think what it would do to my body long term.
This man, who we'll call John, smokes cannabis he grows under natural light to help relieve symptoms of post-traumatic stress.
Could you talk me through how often you use cannabis and what effect it has for you?
So I use cannabis daily, and it has a calming effect for me. It also helps with trauma and me dealing with past trauma. I use it mostly in that regard. My mother unfortunately suffered from bipolar, and she committed suicide when I was about 7 or 8. I moved around quite a lot. My father was incarcerated when my mother committed suicide, so unfortunately the house that I went to just after that, it was sexually assaulted by family members, and been sexually assaulted since as a grown man about 6 years ago.
He says the new cannabis laws have had a positive impact on his day-to-day life.
I've definitely felt like a uplift, like less of a burden on my shoulders as far as I'm a criminal and because this one plant does something good for me, and those handcuffs have been released, and as such, now I can put them up in the air as an advocate and say, hey, look at all the positive things about this plant. It's had a really positive impact on my life.
Labor backbencher Michael Pedersen first introduced the new cannabis laws back in 2018. Although the laws protect recreational users, he says medicinal users should look to the Commonwealth, which manages the medicinal cannabis scheme, for reform.
It is helpful on one hand that these recreational laws are assisting these people, but ultimately the solution is for that Commonwealth scheme to be improved so people that are seeking medicinal marijuana can access it in a consistent way. For some Canberrans, growing their own plants is maybe a pleasant recreational activity, but for many people, they're not gardeners. And so the supply system that is set up within this regime doesn't work for them. I understand those frustrations. However, our hands are somewhat tied here in the Legislative Assembly due to Commonwealth legislation about supply and trafficking.
Do you have intentions of adding the use of artificial cultivation to these laws in the future?
I've got no plans at this time. If I do, you'll be the first to know. There is a review of these laws that will take place in the next couple of years. I would encourage any Canberran that does have a view about how these laws could be changed to get involved with that process when it takes place.
Mr. Pedersen has more recently tabled a new bill calling for the decriminalisation of small amounts of illicit drugs like ice and heroin, which a special inquiry recently recommended should be passed into ACT law. He says it would be a vital step away from criminal prosecution and towards harm minimisation when dealing with drug use.
Right around the world, jurisdictions, both the subnational and national level, are having this debate. So I think Australia is very much at the start of this journey. And I think it's about time that we have an evidence-informed discussion about these substances so we can go about reducing the harm these substances cause.
Are you afraid of what position your actions are taking, or the means you're having to go to? Are you afraid that the position that's putting you in?
Oh, absolutely. They say cannabis causes paranoia, but these laws cause paranoia for me because I'm just doing my thing privately in my home, treating my medical conditions, and I'm breaking the law because of it. And it weighs really heavily on my mind, yeah.
Insightful. I think there's a lot of great points here, It's,
Do you want to make $1,000 today?
and it's quite
and then
interesting.
$1,000 a day,
I don't want to hear this
every
fella.
day? You will only need 5 minutes and my team will do the rest for you. Yeah, you heard me right. In less than 24 hours, you'll have $1,000.
It'd be interesting to know how many people are actually out there, fitting in that category of breaking the law and doing their own cultivation for their personal use. To try and receive obviously the treating to ailments, and then she replied to go back to big pharma medication, so daunting, the toxicity levels, probably even the level of relief is not even there. It's not even the same side effects being caused. And then Ricky's comment of like everybody should be smoking weed. I don't know, I guess everybody wouldn't be inclined to smoke it, but definitely should be used by more cultures. Even like how loose alcohol could kill you. People get violent. People just lose sort of the control, whereas cannabis smoke would make you look inside, think more, and just be more relaxed. I guess everybody can understand what I'm saying. What's the law? It's just a word. Some people in the office made up. Yeah. See, obviously, heaps of different opinions, thoughts on this. Exactly. But it's just what did cause it, the war on drugs? Because it's only been the past 100 years. We're the unlucky ones that have come under this prohibition of cannabis. Prior to that, it was everywhere. People were using it, and there are probably cultures around the world which still inhale it pretty freely. It's just being in Western society, I guess, based on my viewpoint, majority is from Australia. So, and in Queensland, it's really strict. Although, we do have a lot of people who partake. The percentage of people in Australia that do smoke is quite high, considering it is illegal. And the amount of money, I guess, that we put into it too, it's incredible. The prices here are so high. I guess that all goes around. Here we go. For people, what percentage of Australians smoke cannabis? For people aged 14 and over in Australia in 2019, 36% had used cannabis in their lifetime and 11.6% had used cannabis in the prior 12 months. The lifetime use of cannabis has increased from 33% in 2001, while recent use of cannabis has decreased from 12.9%. Also, there'll be a lot of people taking part in the survey who probably don't answer yes, even though they do partake. Because of the law who use cannabis most in Australia. Australians aged 40 to 49 years are more likely than other age groups to have used cannabis in their lifetime. Those aged 18 to 24 are most likely to have used cannabis in the past 12 months, past month, and past week. That's from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare. Okay, this is all little facts you get on Google. How many people use cannabis in Queensland? The Health of Queensland's 2018 report, due to be released this month, which is pretty old, will show an estimated 558,000 people aged 14 or older had used illicit drugs in the previous 12 months. Of those, 485,000 people had used cannabis. The abuse of prescription medication was also an issue for Queensland. And that's another great part about it. It gets you off those big pharma things. As the lady in the previous video did say, she so much feels better using the natural medication of the weed. How often do people use cannabis in Australia? Approximately 1 in 7, 40% used every day. Australians who used cannabis in the past 12 months, 14% used every day, 23% used once a week or more, 13% used 13% once a month, 18% in a few months, and 32% once or twice in a year. So let's say it's a fair percentage. We got about 20 something million. We got about 8 million people probably. Out of the regular, probably just about 2 or 3 million everyday users. Something from last year, saying smoked more weed than ever in 2020. Amongst the pandemic, the Australian cannabis market has been booming, with a recent report outlining that consumption has increased in 2020. With all Australians having to go through a few months of lockdown, many people were stuck in their homes with not much to do. It appears that a lot of people have abundance of their time soaking weed. The Australian Criminal Intelligence Commission recently released their 11th report from the National Wastewater Drug Monitoring Program. In layman's terms, they do a nationwide urine test for whatever drug people smoke, swallow, snort, or inject. So no, even from work, you can't get away from a piss test. I can't actually zoom on this one. Just don't know the keys to do it on the keyboard. Estimated average consumption per jurisdiction. What's your per day? Was that the number of collection days? Okay, so, well, Hobart is massive, Adelaide is massive, Darwin is massive, Perth's massive, Sydney, quite big, Melbourne, Brisbane, ACT, intense, the capital city. As seen above, with the increase in the legend, weed consumption increased throughout Australia from 2019 to 2020. This is according to the estimation of THC consumed based off the THC content found in wastewater. The report covered 56% of Australia's population, 13 billion, with a distinction between those located in capital cities and those in regional areas. Among other findings from the report was cocaine usage bouncing back after the lockdown period. Wow, that's a huge list of cannabis losses, certainly interrupting the supply and massively increase the average prices, thereby reducing use in the community. Just joking, this is likely less than 0.1% of domestic cultivation. So $40 million doesn't really say the weight, you can't tell. I mean, because they'll price plants that are wet and in the ground, at like some immense price of a few $1,000s when that's just not the case. Okay, it's also notable that usage increased despite street prices increasing. Right? It's also notable that usage increased despite street prices increasing in some areas. As per ACIC, the cannabis market was not negatively impacted during the COVID period to the extent of major drug markets. Despite highly inflated prices in some areas, this is likely because almost all of the market is supplied from domestic sources and cultivation occurs nationally. Though Australian cannabis legislation and general public view has evolved, notably with the ACT legalising personal use, not recreational retail, there is still a long way to go. A recreational cannabis industry could potentially create thousands of jobs and bring in billions of dollars, but both major parties oppose it. The biggest party supporting it being the Greens. Check out the 83-page National Wastewater Drug Monitoring Program report there. Alright, so if you want to have a look yourself about the amount of illicit substances that are going around and where they are, just check out I'll drop the link in there. Yeah, that's I actually read that there in something else I was going on that the crime rate dropped. I was just coming to some article, and basically when I think it was in the US, but 10 days prior to the first installment of like dispensaries, they did a crime analysis. So 10 days prior, they opened it 10 days after. It was like a huge decrease. I think it was like 20%. So I mean, it's a very small time too, for 20 days, but still, it's good to see. So, oh no, well, that's not great. And that's the other issue too. I've seen in a few uploads of that. What's happening in America? How people think that it's great, the legalization is taking place, people are getting licenses to grow and such, but it's being monopolized in a sense due to the price and the regulations and requirements you have to do to fulfill the license. Like you need the property, you have to be established in growing in certain ways, prior to this already going, like the cost. And so again, it's putting out a lot of grassroots growers who have probably been, active for generations, have great skill, immense amount of skill, but just due to the fact big business is taking over with the wallets that they've got, they outprice these people, and then that's going to lead to these certain businesses and corporations at the top level just holding, too much say and sway. And there you go, you've got a huge thing of big pharma. Flies are trying to get involved in the cultivation and the industry. It's a bit sad, but that's something definitely people in Australia, if you're an advocate, really get it, like something I'm thinking about for sure, to the opportunities that are coming, because it's going to get only bigger in the next 5 to 10 years. It's not going to be easy either. You have to be really dedicated and obviously involved, but it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I'll be looking into, just the even any sort of field, from like having a bar, if that's possible, instead of like a pub. There's a smoking bar you can have, merchandise, working at a dispensary, a rep, even being like a cleaner or a manicure or someplace would be so cool. Okay, nice. Who's that? Thanks for all the love there, buddy. Love face. Crazy to see all these bots and things like that. But it's been about an hour, I think. So much peace. Ready to jump out. Thank you for everybody coming through. I hope it was informative. Stay with a high grade. Bit of a mess up with all the interruptions at the beginning, but I'll go back and have a look if it's all blocked up. I might do it again, but all the links to those sites should be in the chat. So if you want to find out, go and do it. Yeah, you know what it is. Oh, actually, that's right. I'll probably go out with some beats and make it a bit smooth. Have a billy, everybody's chopping up, and got the high grade there. Or if you're at work, look forward to it when you get home. Yeah, I'll just play some music for the outro. May your plants be going good and it grows wherever you are. Once again, Ricky Man, thank you for coming through all the way from UK, bro. Bloody brilliant. Spread the word over there. Tell people. Go to here. Go to there. Go to there. I'm back. Go to here. Go to here. Sometimes the sunshine is here, so it's like bringing out all lovely plants, and they're loving it. So make sure they're hydrated. Make sure they grow well. Alright, we out, eh? Much peace.